What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, continuing my deep dive into Neil Young's catalog. Friday, so it's a studio album. We're on his 15th official studio album, Old Ways, released in 1985. It's a country album. Are you ready for the country? Because Neil's bringing the country. He had dabbled in country before, Comes a Time, country flavors for sure. Hawks and Doves, country flavors for sure. There's country flavors on American Stars and Bars. There's flavors of country throughout Neil's catalog, but it's always like a Neil Young song flavored with country. These songs feel more like country songs flavored with Neil Young, if that makes any sense. A lot of fiddle. Hope you like the fiddling. Some pedal steel, which has kind of always been present, which I don't think is as egregious at times as the fiddle. Neil's sort of country singing, some more country lyrics, songs such as Are There Any More Real Cowboys? What's another song that's on here? Country, Getting Ready for the Country. That's on here. I know Get Back to the Country. Are You Ready for the Country is another song. So it's very, very country. And the country, I don't think, is the issue with this album. There are country bands, artists I love. I think the issue is a couple things. One, apart from country music on this album, we have a pretty nice, healthy country band. We have pedal steel, we have dobro, we have fiddle, we got some Jew's harp, completely unnecessary. We don't need that. Got some mandolin, banjo galore, but we also got strings. We got a string section in here. And there are a number of songs where I'm like, I'm all in on this song. It's country, but this is what Neil's doing. I'm okay with it. And then somebody decides, you know what this needs right now? Some really, really syrupy, cheesy, orchestral, soundtracky, 60s, dated, 70s type string action that at no point in time did I go, that's what this song needed. So the strings hurt. Neil's singing doesn't necessarily help. I always want to go back to Comes a Time when I think of Neil and country music. The very country versions of Comes a Time that lean in on that fiddle action, that lean in on the country. The song itself, the words, the melody, the way Neil sings it, is a very 70s soft rock Neil. It's a thing Neil does, the middle of the road that he does spectacularly. When the melody and the core song is at its basic DNA as a Neil song, and then he builds outward and it turns into country, I think it works. When he decides he wants to write country music and he starts with country and works in, I don't think it does work. He loses the sort of whatever it is that makes Neil Neil. And in the live shows, a couple days ago, I just did the Austin City Limit show, which preceded this album, which was kind of like a live practice rehearsal for the Old Ways sessions, right? Because they toured in 84 on the country band, went in early 80. Well, they recorded this in 83 through 85, but finished it up in 85 when they had already toured a lot of this material. What was I going to say? I was on a heater right there, man. But when he's going in from country, it just loses something. I don't know. It just doesn't have that same sort of Neil authenticity. Oh, comparing it to the live stuff, or even the live stuff, there's that little Neil rawness comes in, whether it's in the guitar, whether it's like an extended Southern Pacific with a country vamp, whether he's doing oldie songs, but he's countrifying them up. So right at their core, they're still Neil. It works better live. It doesn't always work on a studio album. And I think that's the problem with this. The limitations of his voice singing country, because it doesn't sound authentic. He's not being insincere. I believe he's trying to be a country artist. It just doesn't sound authentic. The strings are unnecessary. There's a couple moments on here, particularly I think it's Old Ways, at the very beginning. No, it's not Old Ways. My Boy in particular. And then there's another song which starts off with this very basic, almost acoustic vibe that once the band drops in and it goes country, you kind of lose the Neilness. But in the very beginning, when it's just like an acoustic guitar and stuff, you're like, oh, this is quintessential Neil. And if it stays a country song, it's going to work. But then usually some like other instrumental strings come in and it countrifies it in a way that we get away from the Neil stuff. So anyways, my point is, it's not the country that's the problem with this album. It's sort of the inauthentic and the overproduction that kind of muddies the country waters a little bit. Also, at this point, he has interviews in which he says at this point he had been burnt out on rock and roll, the system, the business, everything about rock and roll. And he was finding a home in Nashville. He was finding a home in country music. And so for him, this was an escape, but it feels like almost like he's hiding out. It doesn't have the same authenticity as Dylan's gospel period does when he became born again. No, Dylan was born again. He wasn't testing the waters to see if he liked it. He became that person. That's why I think those albums work better than Neil's attempt to be pure or country. Yeah. There are 2 songs on here a couple things I like about this album. 2 duets, Willie Nelson duets on Are There Any More Real Cowboys, which might be the song that is the germ that becomes Farm Aid for decades to come. You can see his concern for actual farmers, actual cowboys. The Are There Any More Real Cowboys? He specifically disses honky-tonk cowboys, urban cowboys. John Travolta in that movie, people go drink and wear cowboy hats, and he's pretty much praising the farmer cowboy, the rancher cowboy, the guy who's out there who's making America a better place through their hard work. That's what Are There Any More Real Cowboys is about. Lyrically, it's a great song. Lyrically, you can see how this is maybe the birth of his Farm Aid, and his helping the farmers. Plus, Willie Nelson duets on it. And yeah, I'm all there for Willie Nelson. And then on another song, Bound for Glory, Waylon Jennings duets on it. And I'm all there for Waylon. So those are 2 positives. Also, I think there are only 2 songs. I'm still a playlist person. I love playlists. Mixtapes in the day, mixed CDs. I'm out on a playlist. There's only 2 songs on here. If I had to pick a song from every album, there's really only 2 on here. The opening, The Wayward Wind, which is a cover. It's a duet with someone named Denise Draper. I like it. It's got this haunting West Texas, Lonesome Prairie harmonica sound, this sort of like 3rd act Sergio Leone drama type vibe that absolutely works. Yes, I think we have some strings that come in that absolutely are not needed. But the overall vibe, especially that harmonica wailing in the distance type thing, is beautiful. So the opening, The Wayward Wind, is really good, and it's sort of a soft entry into the country vibe, because the next song, Get Back to the Country, as soon as The Wayward Wind ends, it's just like don't bow, bow, bow. We're off in fiddle land, and it's just like this is too much. And then I even think in Get Back to the Country, we have some bow, 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 bow. We have some mouth harp action, which is just almost cartoonish country. Like, you're trying too hard, Neil. Can you just reel it back in a little bit? But The Wayward Wind is a really good song, the opening track. And then on side 2, there's a song called Bound for Glory, which I believe is the longest track on here, like close to 6 minutes. It's a duet with Waylon Jennings. It's a love song about a trucker and a hitchhiker. Has sort of a Chris Christopherson storytelling feel about it, a Willie Nelson 70s vibe. It really works. Those 2 songs, I think, are as far as the whole package goes, much better than everything else, though there are a couple other interesting tracks on here. So we get 5 songs on each side, 10 songs total. Opens up with The Wayward Wind, the great cover. Super country, Get Back to the Country is next. Almost cartoonishly country. It's almost like, hey, if you can't handle this, turn it off. But if you can make it through this, you might be able to survive the rest of the album. Next comes the banjo on that. It happens to be really nice, though, by the way. Lyrically, it's also sort of like, hey, I'm sick of rock and roll. I'm going back to the country. I've done that. I'm going back to the country. We're definitely get that personal sort of what he expressed in interviews. We're expressing and Get Back to the Country. Are There Any More Real Cowboys? Oh, this is the one. The very beginning's guitar and harmonica. And then when the band drops, we go into a much more non-Neil-ish country vibe. But those opening chords and that opening vibe, you're like, this is Neil right here. Let's continue with this. But I really like this song lyrically. I think Neil's vocal part is nowhere near as effective as Willie's because it's Willie. I like the lyrics. It's the pro field worker type thing, the pro actual farmer. You can see this as maybe him coming around to Farm Aid, why he would go into Farm Aid. You can see his own personal views in this song and what he would be doing, as far as political activism or just helping people for decades to come. Once an Angel, kind of a slower, kind of a waltzy. It's the slow dance song. Hey, it's time to slow dance. Grab the one you love. Once an Angel, kind of a love song. And then the weirdest song on here, Misfits, parentheses, Dakota. This sounds like a country band listened to a whole bunch of early Moody Blues, like that 7 run, particularly the early ones on those, like a Days, Future Past, and was like, let's try to make this Moody Blues thing into a country song. Starts off with just some stand-up bass and Neil just singing some very sparse before the rest of the band comes in. Very kind of surrealistic, situational, character-driven lyrics that may or may not be allegorical, maybe top of the dome type thing, not really sure. Has this just almost plotting movement to it. Strings come in, and I would say no to the strings if it didn't just make the entire experience that much weirder and that much. It's not a country song. It's not a Neil song. I'm not even sure what Misfits Dakota is, but it's a fascinating song. And it's one of those, I think if this had sat around for a couple more years and he still had this sort of not recorded yet when he was doing Freedom, it to me seems like it could fit perfectly on Freedom. Maybe the penultimate song, sort of to balance the sort of the structural nature and somewhat also kind of surrealistic all over the place nature of Crime in the City, that's the name of that song? Crime of the Century, Crime in the City, to have like rockin' crime and then Misfits, the electric rockin', I think that would have balanced that album really well. Anyways, fascinating song. I'm not sure it's a good song, but it's a fascinating song. Then we get my least favorite song on here, which I just came to that realization yesterday when I revisited this. I listened to Austin City Limits earlier, that live set. California Sunset. The version on here is from the Austin City Limits show I talked about a couple days ago. I grew up in California. I still identify as a Californian, even though I've lived in Texas for half my life now. This song reminds me nothing of a California sunset. I know Neil lived in California. I know Neil has seen a California sunset. I would have argued after hearing the song that he had never experienced one in his life. Don't know where he was when he saw it. To me, this is not a California sunset vibe. If you are from California and you know the song, let me know if you feel the same way. Because to me, this is neither the beach vibe, nor is it the fast-paced Hollywood vibe. I'm not sure what vibe he's picking up. Then we get Old Ways, which is kind of a hard to change your old ways. I quit the smoke, I quit the drink until that party last night. And then, that all went out the door. Kind of a fun, has a nice little jam and acoustic, not really a jam, but nice little licks in there. Kind of just a nice bluesy country vibe that I like. My Boy, song about his kid. Banjo, softer, chiller country, like a lot of Why Are You Growing Up So Fast type lyrics and ideas. Strings are not needed. The Awesome Bound for Glory with Waylon Jennings. Love Story, Hitchhiker and a Truck Driver. This is very 70s country. By far, I think the best thing on this album. This works. And then we close out with a song called Where is the Highway Tonight? Piano flavored. Kind of reminds me of a slightly more country version of something the Eagles would have done on their first couple albums. Just that kind of straightforward, simple, slightly raw country vibe. But yeah, it just doesn't feel like that Neil intensity is here. Even that Neil intensity is on Hawks and Doves when he starts to get reactionary. It's on Trans because of Trans. It's on Reactor when we have these really indulgent long things. The only thing that is kind of Neil here is Misfits Dakota because it's kind of experimental and out there. But I don't even know what it sounds like. It's just a weird friggin' song. It's an intriguing song. All right. Where would I rank the songs? Because I decided I would do that. California Sunset. Decided I don't like this song. I just don't like it. There are very few Neil songs I don't like. I've decided I'm not a fan of California Sunset. Then you go up the list. I really think those top two, Bound for Glory and The Wayward Wind, are the best. Misfits is intriguing. I love the lyrics of Are There Any More Real Cowboys? Old Ways, I kind of like the fun lyrics. Get Back to the Country. I would be in that song if it wasn't for the I don't need the mouth harp. The mouth harp is a little too cartoonish for me. And then the last three are just kind of type songs. But yeah, that's what I would rank that. The album, I have it at the very back, right before Everybody's Rocking at the bottom, but after Early Days. Early Days is ranked low because I just don't think, I would rather listen to any other Crazy Horse Neil Young album. I don't think it's a bad album, but I just don't ever pull it out in the year it's been released because there are better versions, I think, of those songs. Hawks and Doves at least has side A. So Old Ways, yeah, it's at the bottom. Trans is at 11, Reactors at 12. The 80s aren't as bad as everybody says. But yeah, Old Ways, 20. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on this album. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do those things. And yeah, that's it. All right. And peace. Talk to you later.